Alright, this is the last video I'm planning on doing this weekend. I was going over the homework with one of you and came across this interesting problem from your page 338 homework. Uh, as we went through, we realized that the tricks, you have to be careful with this one, and you have to, in fact, be a little bit tricky. So, hopefully, you look at this problem and you see that you should use a u substitution. I'm going to go ahead and put everything in its power form. I'm going to put what's in the denominator down as my u, so that my du can be 1/2 times x to the negative 1/2 dx. Now, I think as you did your homework, many of you probably jumped and saw that you had an x to the 1/2 dx and got excited about that, but be careful because remember this means that you have 1 over 2 times the square root of x dx. You cannot take this x squared, or the square root of x that's on the denominator, and pretend like it replaces the one that's on the top. So what we're going to do is we're going to be tricky. We cannot right now pull out this dx until we see a square root of x on the bottom. Now I am going to go ahead and I'm going to get rid of my my 2, because that I am allowed to move to the other side, so I'm going to multiply both sides by 2. But you can't get rid of the square root of x. You have to keep the square root of x on the same side as the dx term. So now we have that 2 du is equal to 1 over the square root of x dx. I'm going to modify my problem slightly so that this will be okay. And the only way I'm allowed to modify my problem is if I multiply by a special form of the number 1. So I'm going to choose that square root of x so that I get a square root of x on the bottom to be my special form of the number 1. So when I do this, on the top, square root of x times square root of x, I am going to go ahead and distribute those. Remember, always distribute on the top, never distribute on the bottom. So we get an x here, we get a square root of x minus 3 times a square root of x, maybe, there we go, dx. And when I look at this, here, that's equal to 2 du. Here, I have something that's equal to u. I have an x left over right now, and that is not necessarily something that I want to have. Well, it's not something I want to have. Not something I anticipated, but there is the trick to get rid of this if we take what u is equal to. U equals the square root of x minus 3, and we use it to solve for x. So add 3 to the other side. And we get the square root of x is equal to u plus 3. We're going to square it. And I do mean you are going to square it. Go ahead. Let's see, that's probably going to be too small for me writing on here. Go ahead and use your box form, your FOIL form, however you want to distribute. And we're going to take u plus 3 times u plus 3 to get u squared plus 3u plus 3u plus 9. And we know now that x is going to be equal to u squared plus 6u plus 9. So, let's see, I'm running out of room, but I'm going to make some. We'll just carve out a little section. We'll do what we got to do. All of this now, we're going to take our integral. We're going to replace our pieces again. We have now the integral of, I'm going to go ahead and plug in my terms with u. I've got a u squared plus 6u plus 9 going on top where this was. On the bottom here, I have u, and then where this 1 over the square root of x dx is, I have a 2 du. It is definitely tricky, but you do what you have to until you get a problem that has all u's. Now this one again, I would not take the integral until you've simplified each piece. You are allowed to divide each term by the denominator. So we're going to end up with, I'm going to go ahead and bring the 2 outside as well. So 2 times the integral of u plus 6 plus 9 to the negative u, or sorry, u to the negative 1 du. And when we take this integral now, we have 1/2 u squared plus 6u plus 9. Remember the integral of 1 over u, or u to the negative 1, is the natural log of u. And then the plus c. And so this will equal, let's see, we'll distribute this 2 outside here. We end up with, I'm going to run out of room, but we'll make this work. The square root of x minus 3, quantity squared, plus, since we're distributing the 2, we now have 3 times the square root of x minus 3 plus 9 times the natural log of the square root of x minus 3 plus c. And you could distribute some of the things here. We'll cancel and we'll combine with some like terms. And of course here nothing will combine with that. But this problem very well could be a little bit more tricky than you necessarily thought as you were going through your homework. So please look over this problem in particular again. And let me know if you've got any more questions about it or any of your other homework problems.